We've all felt it, right? That really common, but still utterly bizarre brain hiccup known as déjà vu.
Hmm.
You know, you could be doing something totally new, maybe meeting a new person, walking into a building you've never seen, or just, I don't know, seeing a weird sign on the road, and bam, you get hit with this really profound, kind of unsettling feeling
Yeah.
that this exact moment, it's happened before, maybe years ago, but exactly like this.
It's probably one of the strangest temporary mental states we experience. Déjà vu, it just translates to already seen.
Right.
But scientifically, yeah, we define it as this false sense of familiarity that pops up when you're having a genuinely new experience. It's basically an illusion of memory.
And okay, here's the thing that I think really flips the script on this, the key insight for you listening.
Mm-hmm.
Déjà vu isn't just that feeling of familiarity. It's the next step. That critical moment, you realize the feeling itself is wrong. It feels familiar, but you know it shouldn't.
Exactly, which it sounds weird, but it actually means that when you feel that flicker of déjà vu, it's often a sign that your brain's higher level systems are working just fine.
The fact checkers.
Yeah, the fact-checking and conflict resolution bits, mostly up in the frontal lobes. They're spotting the error, flagging it, and that's what generates that weird feeling we notice.
So our mission in this deep dive is to unpack this specific brain glitch. We want to look at what's causing this mismatch.
Right.
How do our pretty sophisticated memory systems get fooled like this? And also, why for some people does this go from just a weird quirk to, well, a major sign of something serious like temporal lobe epilepsy?
Let's start with just how common it is, because it really is almost universal. The sources we looked at show something like 97% of people reporting déjà vu at least once.
Wow, 97%. So if you've had it, you're absolutely normal in that respect.
Definitely. It's overwhelmingly considered, compatible with normal brain function, neuropsychiatric normality.
Okay, it's common, but why? From that cognitive angle, what's the mechanical failure happening?
Well, the modern view sees déjà vu mostly as an illusion caused by the mistaken activation of just the feeling of familiarity.
Okay.
Think about how recognition normally works, right? Your brain gets a quick flash of familiarity,
Uh-huh.
and that usually guides retrieval. It signals, hey, I know this thing, now go find the details.
So what happens if the brain thinks it knows something, it gets that flash, but it can't actually find the file, like the memory retrieval part fails? What's that called?
That's what researchers often call the decoupled familiarity hypothesis. The familiarity signal gets generated, but it's disconnected or decoupled from the actual cognitive processing happening right now and from pulling up the specific memory.
Ah, okay.
So you get the feeling, the signal that something should be familiar, but the actual content, the memory itself, isn't there or isn't relevant to what's happening. It's like getting a notification for a file that doesn't exist.
A ghost file notification. That's a great way to put it. And researchers can actually trigger this feeling in the lab.
Yeah, it's fascinating. They use things like virtual reality environments to study something called recognition without identification, or RWI.
RWI.
So RWI happens when what you're seeing now is genuinely similar in some underlying way to something you've experienced before but forgotten.
Like how?
Imagine a VR study. First, you explore, say, a virtual junkyard layout. Then later, maybe you explore a virtual botanical garden.
Totally different visually.
Totally different visually, and here's the key. It has the exact same spatial layout, the same paths, the same dimensions.
Ah, so your brain recognizes the structure, the spatial map, even if the details are new.
Exactly. But the specific memory trace for the junkyard is too weak to be consciously recalled, so the system just flags up layout familiar without the why.
And that generates the feeling.
Precisely. The research shows that even subtle similarities in spatial layout between a new scene and a forgotten old one can be enough to trigger that strong familiarity signal. It's essentially a pattern recognition error.
Which the frontal lobe fact checker then jumps on and says, hang on, this doesn't feel right.
That's the idea.
Okay, so we know about the mechanism. But what about healthy people? Why are some folks more prone to these little misfires than others?
Well, the list of factors isn't too surprising, actually. Pretty relatable stuff. Anything that makes the brain tired increases the chances.
Like stress, lack of sleep.
Yep, stress, anxiety, and especially sleep deprivation. An exhausted brain is just more prone to random misfirings like any tired machine.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I also saw that people with higher education levels or who travel a lot or remember their dreams often,
Yeah.
they report it more.
That's reported too, yeah. And critically, age is a big factor. Younger people tend to experience it much more often than older adults.
Really? Why is that?
Well, it ties back to that fact checker idea we started with. The hypothesis is that younger people might have stronger, more active neural pathways in those frontal monitoring regions.
So they're better at noticing the error.
Potentially. They're more likely to register that feeling of conflict when the familiarity signal misfires. It might not be that older people have fewer memory glitches overall, but maybe they're just less tuned in to that specific weird feeling when it happens.
Interesting. Okay, so the frontal lobe is the checker. Let's talk about the system. It's checking the memory system itself. How do researchers break down memory to understand these different feelings of recognition?
Yeah, this is where the dual process model of recognition memory is really useful. It basically splits recognition into two different components.
Okay.
And these often rely on slightly different brain structures, mainly within the medial temporal lobe, the MTL.
Right, the MTL. So what are the two processes?
Okay, first you have familiarity. Think of this as the quick gut feeling. It's just that bare sensation of having encountered something before, a just knowing feeling.
No details, just the vibe.
Exactly. No context, just the recognition signal. And neuroanatomically, this seems to rely mostly on the regions around the hippocampus, especially the parahinal cortex. It's like the brain's quick file sensor.
Okay, quick sensor is familiarity. What's the other one?
The other side is recollection. This is the full experience, the mental time travel.
Ah, the movie reel.
Pretty much. Retrieving the specific context, who you were with, where you were, maybe fragments of images, sounds, feelings associated with that original memory.
And that needs the hippocampus.
That detailed retrieval relies heavily on the hippocampus itself and the wider MTL network. It's like the brain's detailed context database.
Okay, so familiarity, quick sensor, and recollection, detailed database. How does this help us classify these deja experiences?
Well, it maps quite neatly. The simple, brief feeling we usually call déjà vu, already seen, seems to be mostly an error in that quick familiarity signal. Just a flicker.
Got it. Familiarity glitch.
But then you get to déjà vécu, already lived. This is reported as much more intense and longer lasting. Okay. People describe a really strong feeling of actually reliving something, like mental time travel, maybe even getting partial details back, some context.
So that suggests the glitch isn't just hitting the familiarity sensor anymore.
Right. It suggests the erroneous activation has spread, maybe triggering parts of the recollection system too. It's a deeper level of error.
And déjà vu.
Yeah.
That's the one often linked to that feeling of knowing what's going to happen next, right? The prescience thing.
Exactly. That profound, sometimes really unnerving sense of, I know what they're going to say, or I know what move they'll make. People reporting déjà vu often feel this very strongly.
It must feel incredibly real at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. But, and this is important, lab experiments have consistently shown it's an illusion.
Really?
Yep. People experiencing déjà vu or déjà vécu are no better at predicting the actual next event than someone just guessing randomly. That feeling of certainty is just another part of the neurological misfire.
Wow. So the brain generates the confidence, but not the accuracy. Fascinating.
It is. And just quickly, there are related glitches too, right? Like jamais vu.
Oh yeah, the opposite, where something familiar suddenly feels completely unfamiliar. Weird.
In press vu, that's the tip of the tongue feeling. You know it's there, but you can't quite grasp it.
Right. All these things show that disconnect between the feeling of knowing and the actual content.
Exactly. They highlight how these components can come apart.
Okay, let's shift gears now because this research isn't just about understanding weird feelings. It has really serious implications when these glitches become symptoms of neurological problems, specifically temporal lobe epilepsy, TLE.
Yeah, the connection isn't new at all. It goes way back to the 19th century to a physician named John Hewlings-Jackson.
Hewlings-Jackson, right?
Right. He described what he called the dreamy state, which explicitly included sensations like déjà vu as a key part of what we now call simple partial seizures originating in the temporal lobe. It was a foundational insight.
But there's a strange twist in the data, isn't there? I saw some big studies showing that, counterintuitively, fewer TLE patients report experiencing any kind of déjà vu compared to healthy people.
That's right. Something like 63% of TLE patients versus maybe 76% in healthy control groups.
So, having a damaged temporal lobe might actually make you less likely to experience the normal, healthy kind of déjà vu.
That's one interpretation, yeah. It suggests that if those MTL structures are already compromised by epilepsy, the normal cognitive machinery that generates that healthy pattern-matching error might actually be broken or impaired.
Huh. That really goes against the simple assumption that people with temporal lobe issues would just have these memory errors constantly.
It does. However, when déjà vu does occur as part of a seizure in TLE patients, what's called ictal déjà vu, or the seizure recognition form, it's often very different from the benign version.
How so? Qualitatively different.
Absolutely. The seizure-related form is often described with intense, usually negative emotions, especially fear. It can also involve strong feelings of dissociation, like being disconnected from reality.
Okay.
It's also reported more often at night, but here's a really key difference for anyone listening. Healthy déjà vu usually happens in unfamiliar places, right? Because it's triggered by that novel but structurally similar pattern mismatch.
Right, the garden that feels like the junkyard.
Exactly. But ictal déjà vu, the seizure form, is frequently triggered in very familiar locations, like the person's own home.
Why would it be reversed like that? Familiar places triggering it.
Well, think about it. In TLE, you already have these damaged or overly excitable networks of neurons in the temporal lobe. If a seizure starts right there,
Uh-huh.
then a familiar stimulus, like walking into your own living room, might be enough to activate that hyperexcitable network directly. It bypasses the need for subtle pattern matching and just kicks off the whole erroneous familiarity signal, which can then escalate into the seizure experience.
Ah, I see. The familiar place directly pokes the faulty wiring.
That's a good way to think about it. And the evidence for this kind of escalation and where it happens is incredibly strong from studies using direct brain stimulation.
The intracortical stimulation studies
Why?
during epilepsy surgery evaluation.
Exactly. Those are like the smoking gun. They found that stimulating structures deep inside the medial temporal lobe, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the rhinal cortices,
Yeah.
is 10 times more likely to evoke that dreamy state with déjà vu or related feelings compared to stimulating the outer part, the
Yeah.
temporal neocortex. It pinpoints the origin.
And you can actually see that continuum of experience based on where they stimulate, right? Like an electrical storm analogy.
That's a perfect analogy. If the electrical stimulation or the start of a seizure is very localized, maybe just hitting those entry points like the entorhinal cortex.
The quick file sensor area.
Right, you might just get a brief flicker, that pure déjà vu, the simple familiarity error.
But if the storm spreads, if the activation expands to involve the hippocampus
The detailed context database.
and the amygdala,
The emotion center.
then you get the full-blown experience.
Then you get the more complex, much more intense, often emotional déjà vu, the erroneous recollection. And activating the amygdala specifically seems to be what brings in those powerful feelings, the fear, sometimes intense nostalgia that often accompany the ictal, the seizure-related déjà experiences. It turns a memory glitch into an emotional event.
So this really paints a picture of déjà vu, maybe even involuntary memories, as lying along a single spectrum.
It strongly suggests that, yeah. It seems to depend on how restricted or how widespread the neural activation is within that critical MTL network.
It's just about how much of the circuit board lights up.
Pretty much. Researchers have even found that if they artificially increase the level of stimulation on the cortex, it causes a more extensive discharge, it recruits more surrounding brain regions, and that's when you see the more complex, intense symptoms emerge.
Okay, that brings us squarely to the clinical significance. We've said occasional, brief déjà vu is normal. But when does it cross the line? When should you, the listener, actually worry?
Well, first, it's maybe worth noting that some drugs, particularly ones affecting dopamine or serotonin systems, have been reported to trigger intense, recurring déjà experiences.
Oh, interesting. So chemical triggers too.
Yeah, which just adds more support to the idea that there's a specific neurochemical basis for generating that familiarity signal.
But the really problematic form, clinically, is when it becomes persistent déjà vu, right?
Yes. That's when the intensity and the sheer frequency can become genuinely debilitating. People can get caught in these loops of reliving moments, and sometimes it can even border on, like, delusional thinking.
How so?
Well, the feeling of familiarity is so strong and persistent, the person might start trying to create false beliefs or memories to explain why it feels so familiar. This can overlap with conditions like reduplicative paramnesia, where someone believes a location has been duplicated.
Okay, that sounds serious. So what are the clear red flags? When should someone listening think, okay, this isn't just a weird quirk anymore?
Right. The key takeaways for you are, if you experience déjà vu just occasionally, maybe a couple times a year, and it only lasts a few seconds, that's almost certainly normal. It's likely just your brain's error checking working as intended.
Right.
But if the experiences become frequent, if they feel like they're persisting or lasting longer than just a few seconds, or, crucially, if they come with other symptoms.
Like what kind of symptoms?
Things like confusion afterwards, severe headaches, any kind of loss of awareness or zoning out, physical symptoms like weakness or shaking, or, of course, anything that resembles an actual seizure.
Hmm.
That's when you absolutely need to consult a doctor, ideally a neurologist. Don't just dismiss persistent or worsening déjà vu.
Okay, that's very clear. Frequent, long-lasting, or accompanied by other neurological signs, get it checked out.
Definitely. So, wrapping this up, this deep dive really shows how these seemingly minor glitches, these déjà experiences, are actually quite revealing. They give us a window into how our memory circuits function,
Uh-huh.
especially how the brain generates those distinct feelings, that simple, I know this familiarity, versus the rich, detailed, I remember this recollection.
And it all feeds back into that big ongoing debate in memory science, doesn't it? Are familiarity and recollection truly two separate systems working together? Or are they maybe just different points on a single spectrum of memory strength?
Exactly. And the evidence from brain stimulation, where increasing the intensity seems to shift the experience from simple déjà vu towards complex déjà vécu,
Yeah.
well, that seems to lean pretty strongly towards the continuum view. It suggests the strength of the underlying memory signal, or in this case, the erroneous signal, determines how much of the network gets activated and how complex the resulting experience feels.
So that feeling of already seen might not be a failure of two separate parts, but maybe just a single memory volume dial accidentally getting turned up too high.
Could be. Just enough to create a signal that feels strong and convincing.
Fooling your brain into thinking the memory is real and detailed, even when there's absolutely nothing there, just the sensation of certainty born from a tiny electrical flicker.
It's a powerful reminder of how constructed our subjective reality can be. A slightly unnerving thought, perhaps, to keep in mind the next time your own brain gives you that little déjà vu glitch.